The Bitfarms May production update is in. Bitcoin is still hanging out around $70,000, and Bit Digital is doing something a little suspicious. So let's go ahead and take a look at all of these things right now. First of all, we're going to talk about the Bitfarms May production update. In the month of May, Bitfarms mined 156 Bitcoin. Now we're going to compare that to March, which was the last month when they were completely in the previous halving. Right, so in March, they mined 286. So let's see how that compares. So it was 156 to 286. So we got 156 divided by 286, and we've got about 54.5455 for that, repeating percent of what they were mining pre-halving. So they're effectively cut by 45.5% in terms of how much Bitcoin they're producing for the exahash that they had online from March until now. So that's about what we were expecting. Now, some things that are really good here that we need to pay attention to is that they now have 9.5 exahash. Okay, so that it's not online yet, but it's just waiting to be energized. I was watching an interview with their chief mining officer this morning where they're talking about the 9.5 exahash is like just ready to go. They're just doing a few maintenance things on it, and it will be running here very, very soon. So that would represent an increase of, so about 26.6% increase in their hash rate, which means we'd see about a 26.6% increase in their Bitcoin production here. So we could be expecting them to be mining next month about 197, so close to 200 Bitcoin here going into next month, which is not terrible considering that they were mining 286 pre-halving and post-halving. With these exahash upgrades, they might be mining closer to 200 still, so that's not so bad. They're still on track to deliver their 21 exahash goals, which might be why we saw them rise the last few days, in addition to, some of the retail traders just being absolutely, pushing it up, aping into it, being pissed off about the Riot acquisition and just terrible offer. And we are still holding over that $230 level. Keep that in mind. We are still above that. Those are the most important updates for Bitfarms. Now let's take a look at the chart real quick. You can see here we are still hanging out above the 5-day moving average. We're a little bit disconnected from it. I would like to see us get closer to it and ride the 5-day moving average for a while, but it is holding over that $2.30 range, which I think it's going to stay above that for a while here. We are getting slightly into overbought territory. Volume is starting to kind of flatten out here from this little tick up. Again, I would like to see it kind of just hover just below that 232, just riding the 5-day until the 20 can catch up here. And then once that flag is through, I'd like to see it start moving up again on Bitfarms. There was an update on the CEO search. It is going well. They're going through interviews. They are expecting to sometime fairly soon announce that new CEO. So we get this new exahash going. They get their CEO, concretely in place. I think we're going to see some good things out of Bitfarms here pretty soon with all of that lining up. So that's not so bad at all. So let's take a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin is actually just under $70,000. It's at $69,700 and some odd dollars. It is just knocking on the door of $70,000. You can see that the RSI is ticking up, not in overbought territory yet at all. You can also see here that the volume oscillator has turned green as of today. It is green, and it is pointing in the correct direction that we want to see. We could see a big move out of Bitcoin coming pretty quickly here. We came right into the 20, and we're bouncing right off of it. Now let's go ahead and turn on the Pi cycle indicator. I don't think I've done that in a little while here. Here we go, Pi cycle indicator. Okay, where are we right now? So nowhere near. Notice that we need these two lines to cross. To do that, we need to get way up here. 87,000 is where the green line is, and we've gotten up and above it before. And usually on this thing, we don't see those two lines cross until Bitcoin, the price of Bitcoin is well above that green line. Look how far away it got last time before it crossed. Let's take a look here with the percentage. Let's go right about here. It was 40% above that green line when they crossed and marked a top of the Pi cycle indicator last time. 40% above that. If we did that now, 40% above $87,000. Let's make this chart a lot smaller so we can see where that would be. So if it did a similar move, 40%-ish we would be looking at about $123,000. I was thinking that would be more impressive. It wasn't. So about $123,000 before we could potentially see these lines crossing. Now that is if it went just straight up from here, I think that this is going to get higher as we go for now. So that is what's going on there. We bounced right off that pi cycle, the bottom of the pi cycle here. We came right from the top, hit the bottom. We're going up. We're above this descending channel still. We are flagging right now. This is still a bull flag that we are currently in on Bitcoin right now, and it is looking really good. Let's take a look at the fibs. So this is the fib bands. We are currently above the next band, which in this case, that's the 382, I believe. Let me go ahead and do it. Yeah, that's the 382. So it's above the 382, looking to try to go towards the 618, which would be at $77,000. Here, the top of the fib bands for the daily on the 200, it's got a 200 length. We're looking at $91,000 to get back to that red area there. Can we do it soon? I don't know. I think if this thing pops up, I think we'll quickly go to the 618 here. We'll find ourselves flagging for a bit, and then we'll see if it wants to come back and test 70,000. If it comes back to test 70,000 and doesn't go below it once it goes up to that 618, I think we may find ourselves up closer to this red line here, after that happens. So that's what Bitcoin's doing right now. So BitDigital is doing something a little interesting now. So 7% today. Well, 6.6% today. Most of the miners have been kind of up lately, a little bit like up, down, all around, but BitDigital has been kind of consistently up for a little while now. I have that one down day, but it's been pretty much just up days since May 24th. Now, something interesting about this is May 20th was when the Ether ETFs were announced, right? We got that big pop in BitDigital. It came down a little bit, 2 days down, right? And then it's just been going up from there. You can also see that the short interest, I think short interest might be covering. I think the shorts might be covering. Now, this isn't reflected yet because the earliest data we have is May 15th, which at that time said it would take 3 days of volume, of total volume to cover all the short shares that were out there right now. But you can see that it's starting to come down a little bit. It was at 28%, now it's at 26.5%. The days to cover were up. I bet you these will start coming down pretty soon. I'm thinking the shorts are covering on BitDigital because the spot ETF, right? So this came out yesterday, this article here, and we're going to come down here and say, when will the spot ETF start trading? I think shorts are covering in anticipation of the ETF to start trading for Ethereum, especially since Ethereum is just flagging at the top of the range since it came out. Now, I do think there will be a dip on Ethereum when the ETF does start trading, but it's just been flagging up here, being all ominous, looking like it's ready to just absolutely wreck any shorts on BitDigital. So personally, if I had shorts on BitDigital, I would be covering them, absolutely. We're at the bottom of the range of BitDigital. Huge news on the Ethereum ETF came out. It will be trading any day now. Yeah, I would be scared if I were a short on, and I would be covering. And I do think that's what's been going on here since that big day on May 20th. We had a couple of, some sell-off, and then it's just been up, 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 up from there on BitDigital. And I've just been absolutely loving to see it. All right, that's all I got to say about that. Let's go back to our Adobe play. So we finally got a bounce on Adobe. It went to the top of my descending channel here. It came right to the midline here and bounced off the midline here, which also happened to be this trend line, this big old mega trend line that I put down here from November of 2022. Came down, bounced right off that trend line. It's like you can't even make this up. It filled that gap and bounced off the trend line. Beautiful. Great. Now let's take a look at our cup and handle. Is it still viable? All right, let's see. Is this thing still viable? Could it still happen? I know the smaller one, not going to happen. And this is why it's so important not to front run. Let's see here. We'll go up to about the brim there. Honestly, I'd say it's still viable. Why would I say it's still viable? Because we're just below the midline there. We're bouncing up. If we can close above this red line here, so this red line would be the line where I'm like the cup and handle is not happening. If we get back above this in the next day or two, this red line, I would say it's still got potential and I'd still be watching it. Of course, I'm not acting on this yet. I'm not doing any action on this yet. The other thing that's very exciting about this candle right now is on the weekly, this could end up being a hammer candle at the bottom of the move. Now, I know we had a hammer candle at the bottom of the move over here and it just kept going down further. And that happens sometimes. So I could see this, and I'd want to see it come out of this descending channel. Once it gets out of this descending channel, that's when I'm looking at a potential game on for that cup and handle. Of course, I'm taking no action on this. This is not financial advice, not a suggestion to buy, sell, or hold any asset whatsoever. If you tried to front run this thing back here when I first started talking about it, you would have been absolutely wrecked. You would have lost absolutely everything. And that is why we do not front run. It's why we wait. Waiting is so important. Patience is the most important part of all of this. So I'm waiting to see. And if it doesn't happen, if this never gets above this ascending channel, and honestly, if it doesn't get back up to 477, I'm not particularly interested in it. I need to see it clear this gap here with volume. Otherwise, I'm really not interested in it. And why am I following it so much, you may ask? It's because I saw a play, I started watching it, and now I'm going to kind of talk about it until it's either happening or nullified, and talk about when and why I would walk away from even watching this anymore. And also to point out that it is so important to watch and wait and get confirmation before going into trades. Otherwise, you will get wrecked, like you would have been absolutely decimated on this one if you had gotten in early trying to front run it. Don't ever front run. Always have patience. Always wait. React, don't predict sort of scenarios. Don't just like, yeah, it's definitely going to happen. Like, no, we have to wait. We must wait. And I'm waiting, still waiting. It's still possible. I'm not holding my breath at this point, and I'm not, dying to get in or anything, but just, waiting, watching, seeing what's happening. Let's talk about IWM a little bit. We haven't talked about IWM in a while here. So it has been kind of just fluctuating between 210 and 200 here for quite a while. It came up to 210 again a couple of weeks ago, tapped it, and then just went right back down to the 50-day. Now we are coming up on an FOMC meeting next week where they aren't going to change the interest rates, which means I really don't expect any amazing movement out of IWM or the Russell 2000 yet, and that is solely because those interest rates, it's so sensitive to those interest rates. We need to see them come down to really see it break out. Now, of course, if we don't see them come down and it still breaks out above 210, if it breaks out above 210, above the range, yeah, I'd be looking at it. Or when I start seeing a turnaround, around 200, or if it comes down to 195, closer to this 200-day moving average, like if it gets down to that area, I'd be looking at it to just turn around and start coming back up towards 200, 205 area again. Like it is in a range. It is absolutely in a range, and you can play this range. I have not been playing this range, full disclosure. I've been waiting for that 210 breakout to see it come back up to like the 220, 230 range, and it hasn't given me that yet. So I've just been kind of waiting, seeing if it's going to do it or not. Now we could bounce off the 50, that would be great, but that 210 really is that line in the sand. Once it gets above that 210, I think it's going to be risk on for IWM. Let's take a look at the fibs though. Where is it on the fibs? It's trading below 1. Yeah, this purple line, I think this lines up with the 200, right? Yeah, it lines up with the 200. That's the 200-day. So I don't know if it'll get all the way back down there, but yeah, I'd be looking for it to maybe come down, dip below 200, get towards the 196, 195 range again, if this isn't a flag, and then start heading back up to like 25, 27, 210 before potentially failing again unless something changes. So that's all I've got to say about that. That's the update for today. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and have a profitable day.